Hey, there we go. Farts. I forgot to turn my camera on. I am not good at this stuff yet. And wanted to have some graphics too, because I thought, oh, that'd be cool to have some sweet, sweet graphics. And I don't have those either. And I feel like the screen is small, so I don't know what's going on here. I think that's right though. I don't know. Um, yeah, anyways, I'm Brent. This is the Booms Room. I'm live talking to you all. And I'm going to run down my top matches of the trip. So I went to Vancouver and I went from Vancouver to Las Vegas, and I'm going to talk about the things there that the top matches of the trip. Now, some of these might not necessarily be like the best matches because wrestling is subjective. These are the things that I enjoyed the most, that that things that I will take away from this trip, and just like the top things that I will think of. Like for example, last year I probably would have had Minoru Suzuki versus Butterbean in my top matches of the trip list because it was memorable. Because when you're sitting through a lot of wrestling shows, not everything is going to like stick up there. Sometimes you're just watching a good match and it's just a good match, and that's good. But some things just aren't, the most memorable. So I'm going to talk about, my top matches of the trip. Now, this is a little bit, these are good matches. I'm going to just lead with that. The Suzuki Butterbean match, not a good match. Memorable, but not a good match. These are all good matches. There were a few that were not good matches that I will talk about in a little bit after I go through this list. But also they were not good matches, and they were also not memorable. So in that regard, let's just crank through this list quick. Number 10. I was gonna have cool graphics and have like the match on there and all sorts of stuff, and then I realized I don't have time to do that. So it's either do it this way or do it no way. So you're getting it with just me. Number 10 is Brick Savage versus Mad Dog Connolly from Effie's Big Gay Brunch. And now this was exactly what I was hoping it was going to be, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be that or not. This was a very hard hitting, very typical Mad Dog Connolly sort of match, which when you're watching Effie's Big Gay Brunch and everything is big and gay and not very Mad Dog Connolly esque, it was very out of the blue and very like, I don't want to say welcome, but very like, it was exactly what I wanted out of that match. It was within minutes, Mad Dog Connolly had busted out the dog collar. He'd busted open Brick Savage. He busted him open really good too, maybe a little too good because I saw him like in the bathroom later, and he was like still bloodied up and had like later on in the clusterfuck, he had a giant bandage on his head and stuff like that. Maybe a little too hard hitting, but I really, really enjoyed that match. It was, like I said, your typical Mad Dog Connolly sort of fare, but it made me. This is my first time watching Brick Savage wrestle, and I came away very impressed. He is a big, strong son of a gun, so that was really cool. Number 9 is Natsupoi taking on Johnny Robbie from Pandemonium Pro Wrestling on their show Whatever Forever, which was my first wrestling show that I watched in Vegas. That was a pretty memorable match because it was my first time seeing Natsupoi wrestle. It was my first time seeing Johnny Robbie wrestle. It was just a really good match, and I believe, it was Natsupoi's first match in the United States as well. So pretty cool moment there as well. But yeah, just a really good match. Johnny Robbie is going to be one of those people that I think everybody's going to be talking about as like one of the top women wrestlers just in wrestling in the next like 5 years or so, maybe even sooner. So it's just really cool to see both of those two go out and have a really good match on a pretty good show. So there was another great match with female talent. That was the main event. It was Amira Saya Ida and Janai Kai. Another great match. It didn't make the list, but it got darn close. Number 8, Pete Dunne versus Takeda at Bloodsport. Now this was my favorite Bloodsport match. It was just very hard hitting. These two are just going at each other really hard, and you take Pete Dunne, a brawler but a technical guy, and you take Takeda, who's he's a he's like a deathmatch like legend. He's just a tough, strong dude who brought scissors to the ring with him in Bloodsport. Um, did the zombie from? We will talk about zombies in a little bit. So stay tuned on the zombies. We didn't get the zombie, but we got something very similar. So stay tuned for that. Too excited. Did the zombie from ECW wrestle? Well, sadly, the zombie from ECW is a zombie in real life because he's dead. That being said, like I said, teaser, stay tuned. There will be zombie talk. And it'll be exactly what you want it to be. So yes, Pete Dunne, Takeda, Bloodsport, these two just beat the crap out of each other, and just a great match. My favorite Bloodsport match. I mean, there's some good Bloodsport matches, but that one just really took the cake, and it was exactly what you'd want, and it was a weird, a match that you really wouldn't expect when you're going into a show like that. Is you wouldn't expect, a WWE guy versus versus Takeda. It was just very out of the blue and really, really good match. Number 7, going back to Vancouver, Tokyo Joshi Pro, Vancouver on Sunday. It was Mia Yamashita taking on Nicole Matthews, and this was just a banger of a match between those two. By far my favorite match on both of the Tokyo Joshi Pro shows. Yeah, this was just a great match. Nicole Matthews is a veteran wrestler from the Pacific Northwest, and Mia Yamashita is probably the ace. Is either her or Mia Watanabe as the ace of the Tokyo Joshi Pro division. It was really cool to see, two of the best at what they do meet up in Vancouver, and just a great match. Not much more really needs to be said about that. Number 6 is going to be Brody Lee Jr. taking on Joey Janela at Joey Janela's Spring Break. Now, the match, there's some nitpicks. Did the match go a little long? Yeah, it went a little long. It was slightly unrealistic that Joey Janela was getting beat up by a small child, not a small child, but still a child, a little bit. That being said, it was very pro wrestling. So Joey Janela is one of the masters of his craft as being an indie wrestler and doing fun, cool things like this. And you put Brody Lee Jr. in a match with a lot of people, and that match would not be very good. But you put him in a match with Joey Janela, and Joey's going to make that match exceptional. So, yeah, he's just is there's a lot happening in the chat. Sorry. Yeah, so it just a great match. I highly recommend watching it because it's Brody Lee Jr.'s first singles match. It's not his first match. He did win the clusterfuck last year, so he was technically in a match before that, but yeah, first singles match, and it really did deliver. He was working better than most people that I've seen. Yes, he was. He was very, very well taught. I know he spent a lot of time in the dungeon with Natty and TJ and all the dungeon dwellers that they have there, and that really did show. Did I record the unboxing for the Monk's El Dandy crate yet? I need to swap my shirt size with somebody. I did. It was on Wednesday. Wait, today's Wednesday. Stay tuned. And yeah, Joey is Carney in the best way. Absolutely. He is he's the best at what he does. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. He's the best indie wrestler in the indie wrestling game. I mean, there's better people at specific aspects of things, but when it comes to being an indie wrestler, it's hard to argue with him being the top guy out there. All right, we'll get down to number 5. Number 5 is Cecil Nix versus El Phantasmo at Mystery Wrestling in a Falls Count Somehow match. So this was a match. Was it a match? It was a match. Cecil Nix and El Phantasmo needed to wrestle each other, but they didn't know how they were going to win the match. They tried pinfall, they tried submission, they tried countout, they tried ladders, they tried uh, getting disqualified. They tried everything they could think of until they finally found what it was. I'm not going to ruin it for you in case you haven't watched it yet, but it is a great match. Aubrey Edwards was the referee for it, and definitely added something to the match as well. And just a really fun time that very memorable, which is exactly the point of this. Number four, speaking of very memorable matches, the Sandman's retirement match versus the Invisible Man. Now, going back to zombies, of course, during this match, lots of people ran into the match, including the first people, which were the Outbreak from Juggalo Championship Wrestling, which are two zombie wrestlers, which, if you're familiar with the Sandman, like Anthony alluded to, Sandman has had a history of facing zombies in the ring before, and this was a good kind of callback to that. Um, lots of people, lots of interference in this match. Richard Holiday came out, the Invisible Stan came out, Missy Hyatt came out, Kendra Lust came out with the Sandman. Um, uh, there's more people, but the biggest name of them all that came out was Mick Foley, which was great to see the old Micker come into the ring, and he gave a double arm DDT to the Invisible Stan, which was pretty cool to see. He definitely still had it in that moment, and out of all the things that I saw that weekend, this will probably be the one that sticks in my head the most because how can you see the Sandman's retirement match? Uh, how can you see whatever that was, whatever that Sandman retirement match was, and not remember that? So yeah, it was great. Number three, Zack Saber Jr. had a mystery opponent as the opener for the New Japan World Death Vegas Invitational, which was put on by El Desperado, and there's a lot of speculation on who it was going to be, and his opponent was Fuminari Abe, who is one of the just obviously Zack Sabre Jr. is one of the probably the best technical wrestler in the game currently, and Fuminari Abe is right up there with him. And these two just put on a technical masterpiece that was, it was about 15 minutes, but it was just a great, great wrestling match. When it comes to just like pure wrestling matches, this was probably the best pure wrestling match that I saw the entire trip, and definitely highly recommend watching this one, especially if you like Zack Sabre Jr. style matches. Number two I have on my list is Bandito versus Galeno Del Mal from the WrestleCon Mark Hitchcock Memorial Show. Um, this was just a great match. These two just beat the hell out of each other. Bandito had his mask ripped off, most of it just completely ripped off of his face. These two threw each other. I think Galeno Del Mal literally threw Bandito 5 rows into the chairs. Like, it was ridiculous how far he threw him, how much they like went all out for a match that was just like, it wasn't even the main event of the show. It was the third to last match of the show, but it was just an insane match that I cannot recommend enough. And Galeno Del Mal was just a big freaking dude. So it was cool to see him. It was cool to see Bandito, and it was cool to see like Bandito is like a very strong dude, but seeing him pick up Galeno Del Mal in certain situations and stuff was just very, very impressive as well. Just a great match. So if you like Bandito matches, which I mean you should like Bandito matches, definitely check that one out. Number one match of the trip, I have the Hate Club, which is Nick Gage, Matt Tremont, taking on El Desperado and Jun Kasai, taking on Takeda and Rina Yamashita. Um, I don't even remember what the match type was called, but it was basically just a big giant death match where they had light tubes and panes of glass and all the things that you would want out of this type of match. And it was just a brutal bloodbath, and they were just chopping each other up and doing all sorts of stuff. And it was just a very, very good. As far as like, obviously, death matches aren't for everybody. They are an acquired taste, but I do enjoy him from time to time, and this one really just did deliver in that department, and I highly recommend it. If you're into death matches, I mean, these are excuse me, these are eight, four, eight, somewhere in between. Let's go six legends in the death match game, all in the same ring, taking on each other, and yeah, just a very memorable death match that like I don't know how these people do it. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I know, like you get hit with light tubes, and like yeah, the light tubes don't really mess you up. They make a loud noise. They look cool, but it's not. But still, like all the things that they did in this match, everything. It's insane to see like them doing this, and then like for like Matt Tremont the next day to go out and was it the next day? No, it was 2 days later, and have his match that he did against Otis Kogar, which did not make the list. Another one that was very close to making the list was he had a death cage match, barbed wire steel cage death match with Otis Kogar on Saturday night. And it's just like, how do you like have that type of match and then just come back 2 nights later and have like another amazing death match or like El Desperado wrestled Vipers the next day, and Takeda wrestling Bloodsport the next day against Pete Dunne. It's crazy that they're able to do this kind of stuff. So yeah, those were my top 10 matches of the trip. Um, I'm gonna run through my MVPs of the trip. I got two. Um, I don't have all the matches that they were in or all the matches that I saw them in. But my number one MVP of the trip is Viperous. It seemed like she was on a lot of shows, especially the collective shows that I went to, and just was everywhere. And she's just a very talented wrestler who can wrestle. She wrestled on like the Joshi show on Sunday, and she wrestled El Desperado in a Lucha Extrema match on Friday. Like, and just a very versatile performer, very good in any style that you put her in. I saw her wrestle a death match in Berwyn in January. Just a tremendous performer, and as much as I was like, all right, Vipress, she's pretty good. This was one of those trips where, like, seeing her perform all the ways that I did, I'd have her like, I saw a tweet about this, and I totally agree. One person said, "How do I buy Viper stock? Because I want in on that." And I'm just like, I responded, and I'm like, absolutely. Like, I totally would be in as well because I think there's a big, bright future for Vipers out there. Um, Doggins here added, my buddy Dimitri worked like 6 death matches that weekend. Wow. Oh yes, I know exactly who you're talking about, and yes, he was all over all of the shows that I didn't go to. Unfortunately, not that I didn't like want to go check out the shows that he was on or anything, but yes, he was all over the place wrestling all sorts of crazy matches. My other MVP, I'm gonna give it to Daisuke Sasaki because I had gone my entire, I believe I've gone my entire wrestling career without seeing Daisuke Sasaki actually perform live, and then I saw him at Maple Leaf Pro, which was kind of a random place to see Daisuke Sasaki, especially because he wasn't advertised for it or anything. He was just there, so they threw him in matches, and then went to Vancouver, and then sure enough, on Mystery Wrestling, Daisuke Sasaki took on London Lightning for the Mystery Wrestling Championship. And then I went to the airport, and then Daisuke Sasaki was on my flight to go to Las Vegas. And then we went to In and Out on Tuesday night. The same the same In and Out that's kind of by the venue. And sure enough, in walks Daisuke Sasaki with actually had Jun Kasai there, and he had a few other people that were wrestlers that I believe were unmasked wrestlers. I'm not gonna allude to who I think they were, but yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool to be sitting in and out, talking to MLJ about the collective and all the stuff going on because he sat with me and my friend Tristan and just talking about all the stuff going on. Then Daisuke Sasaki walks in. I'm just like, I literally cannot escape Daisuke Sasaki. And then sure enough, Pandemonium Pro Wrestling first show of the Vegas weekend. Daisuke Sasaki was on there, and he was on a few other shows that I was at as well. So I'll give him MVP as well, just because it's just like It's one of those things where like wasn't super familiar with him, and now I literally could not escape him that entire weekend, which is a cool problem to have. Great wrestler, and he's going to be in Best of Super Juniors this year, so that's awesome as well. I'm gonna quickly run through my bottom three things of the trip, bottom three matches of the trip, and then I gotta go because AEW Dynamite's gonna be on. So bottom three, my first bottom three match was Vampiro taking on Big Vito, taking on PCO on Juggalo Championship Wrestling Stranglemania. This was probably the worst thing I saw this trip. It was clearly three wrestlers that were in their 50s and really had not a lot of business, being in a professional wrestling ring at this point. I do like PCO. I do think he's capable of more. I just think it's kind of the other two that were not really up for doing a whole lot here. So they kind of just did a generic brawl around the building, and then Vampiro won the match with a body slam, and that was really it. And it was very underwhelming. It was Vampiro's retirement match, and I was expecting just a little something extra out of this. I mean, it was at this point it was 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't even remember, and I think it was like 3:30 in the morning, and it was just like, oh, I kind of regret staying up for this. So it's just kind of a matter of timing and a matter of just being a not great match. It was one of those things that not my favorite part of the trip. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Vampiro's world famous body slam. Yeah, I think the goal was he wanted to do a tombstone, but just couldn't. Honestly, it kind of looked like a half tombstone body slam, but he like a tombstone that he didn't go to his knees on. It was just really awkward. And but yeah, it won him the match, it won him the main event. So yeah. Not the best body slam that I saw that weekend. That was, of course, from Psycho Mike, the master of the body slam, which sadly is not on the list. The Psycho Mike Matt Brannigan match at Mystery Wrestling was awesome as well. That was another one that I had to sadly not put on there. Another last of the bottom ones. Effie versus LA Catch at Joey Janela Spring Break. Sadly, this match just really underdelivered. It was going to be like, I think they wanted this to be a big cinematic match, but it fell victim to being just overly long. It kind of fell in a bad place on the card with following the Sandman and the Invisible Man, and like literally the crowd just was not into this at all. And it felt like I knew what they were going for. It just really didn't work, and I feel like this was misplaced on this show. The show like was already kind of running a little bit long in the first place, plus it still had Joey Janela and Brody Lee Jr. and another match happening after that, and it just felt wrong place, wrong time. Like, I know they wanted to do this on the biggest platform possible, but I feel like it probably would have just been better off if they did this at Effie's Big Gay Brunch instead. Maybe it was a little too heavy for Effie's Big Gay Brunch because it was kind of more of a serious, heartbreaking kind of match, but I think it probably would have just played better, and the crowd maybe would have been more into it in that setting. But yeah, it just felt a little underwhelming with all the other craziness going on in that show. It just felt out of place, and like I said, the crowd just died. Someone needed to smarten up and should have started the show at that match. I mean, they started the show at the scramble, which was a great way of getting the crowd into it. But yeah, maybe they should have put Effie and Ellie Catch like second, because I think the classic GCW formula of like doing a scramble to get the crowd hype is a great idea. And I think maybe doing Effie Ellie Catch second would have been good, but making it just a little shorter too, because it was a 25-minute match, which just really felt a little long for the occasion. The last kind of low light of the show, and I like both of these two a lot, but Paul Walter Hauser taking on Big Damo and on Progress for the Progress Pro DS Championship. Another match is just it just didn't click. The crowd wasn't really into it. Um, it's so hard to believe Paul Walter Hauser as a professional wrestler. It works at times. It works in kind of fun matches. This really wasn't a fun match. Was kind of playing a heel here. that doesn't really work. He kind of just needs to be the underdog baby face instead of being like the big heel character. And again, you talk about the believability of wrestling. You have a guy like Big Damo on the other side of the ring as Paul Walter Hauser. It's just really hard to believe that Big Damo isn't going to just beat the snot out of him. So it just really didn't land for me. The after the match story angle with the briefcase of money that Paul Walter Hauser brought out, that if he lost, he would pay Big Damo $100,000. That being empty was kind of just like, well, of course it's empty, and he's being a cheap, a shithead heel, but it just really felt underwhelming and didn't really click. So that was kind of the low lights of the shows. But overall, lots of great wrestling was happening, and I was I was very happy with everything. And man, I went to 20 shows. They flew by, and it was one of those things. I said to a coworker today, I'm like, you know what? It's been a while since I watched some wrestling. I could go for watching some professional wrestling. And he was just like, you're insane. And I'm like, well, yes, I know I have a problem. But yeah. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go watch AEW Dynamite on HBO Max and TBS. And yeah, I recommend you do the same. Thanks. Bye.